Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and lo and behold, we have ourselves another balance update on the PUP. So this is in beta right now, but it will be applied to the real game at some point. I don't know exactly when that will be, but hopefully it will be relatively soon. So, nothing too fancy here in terms of list of changes. It's just straight up, here are the different balance changes, and I'm going to go through them with you guys really quick. Nothing that's monumentally earth-shattering, but I think some decent changes all around. So with that in mind, battle elephants getting a couple buffs. We have the cost being reduced from 110 food 70 gold to 100 food 70 gold. Battle elephants already used to cost 120 food, so now they're getting another cost decrease. They're getting also a speed buff. They're basically furthering the changes that they made early on. Incremental changes, I think, are better than huge sweeping changes, so long as the increments are relatively quick. So I think that these are both good changes. Note that the Malay Battle Elephant discount has been adjusted to compensate for the fact that elephants are now cheaper. It's also a slight nerf to Malay because their gold cost remains the same, but we can get more into that in a minute. Heavy Scorpions now is even cheaper. Again, these are incremental buffs. They're getting more HP, more incremental changes as they've gotten reductions to these things, reduction to the Scorpion cost before, and they've gotten their HP buff before. And also they're getting 1 melee armor. So a few buffs here to Heavy Scorpions. Castle Scorpions are very good. It's just a matter of the Heavy Scorpion not really seeing that much play. Mostly because they die really hard to bombard cannons, onagers, and cavalry, and that's, a lot of the stuff you see in late game. So, I mean, are these good changes? Yes. Is it enough to push them into much higher play rate? Maybe. I mean, you buff a unit enough, and eventually it's going to see play, so we'll have to see how exactly this pans out. Watchtower line, they're interestingly reducing the wood cost from 50 wood to 35 wood. Back in the day, it was actually 25 wood for the tower line, until the huge tower rush meta of shortly before DE came out, 2018, it was really huge. Then they bumped up the cost to 50 wood. Now, 35 wood. Does this make tower rushing better? Yeah, of course, a little bit. But still, defensive towers were kind of tricky to go for, especially because the meta is so tight in terms of very fast uptimes. Resources are absolutely at the limit. So just being able to just get out that defensive tower, I think making it a bit easier is quite good. So cannon galleon projectile speed increased from 3 to 3.5. For context, the Spanish cannon galleon projectile speed is 7. So it's only a slight increase. This is actually the same value as the current Portuguese cannon galleons with arquebus. So, yeah, basically, cannonballs move a little bit faster. The Portuguese cannon galleons do move at a projectile speed of 4. So, again, just 0.5 faster. Other than that, cannon galleons are a bit easier to use. Sure, that's fine. And lastly, for the general changes, demo line affected by siege engineers plus 40% bonus versus buildings. Don't use demos versus buildings, guys, even with this change. It's not very effective. It's way too expensive for what you're getting. You'd rather just use petards or trebs or cannon galleons or something like that. Civ specific changes. Armenians lose shipwright. Singular. It's not shipwrights. It's just shipwright. Great change. You have a civ like, say, Saracens, who have very strong individual ships, but to compensate for it, they don't get the cheapness factor, right? If you're getting a stronger ship, you have to pay more for it. Also, you don't get that sheer efficiency in the late game. With Armenians or a civ that can get a bunch of relics very easily. They have fantastic wood income. I think this is a great change. It's one I espoused in the past. Yeah, I mean, Armenians are just the best water civ, and now they are going to be a very good water civ and among the very best, but I don't think they're going to be sort of decisively above and beyond anymore. So good there. Bengalis, I'm a big fan of this one. Lose Parthian tactics. So your elephant archers no longer getting that +1, +2 armor and extra damage versus spearmen. Bengali elephant archers were just so oppressive and so annoying to take out. They were sort of the end-all be-all unit in every matchup they had. So yeah, good that this upgrade is going away for the civ. Note to compensate for that, Rathas are basically getting Parthian tactics built into the unit. So they're getting +1/+1 armor in Castle Age and +1/+2 armor in the Imperial Age. You're basically getting half the effect of Parthian tactics in Castle Age and then getting the full effect of Parthian tactics, again, sort of baked into the unit. in the Imperial Age. Rathas in general, not the greatest unit, but I think that's less because the unit's stats are bad, and it has more to do with the fact that they're really clunky. Their collision radius, like the size of the unit, is very large, and it would be nice, I think, if maybe that was reduced a bit, and if it was possible to make the Ratha, like you could train it in melee mode or in ranged mode, I think that would be a huge help for the unit as well. So, I mean, that's fine for the Ratha, but I don't think it addresses their annoyance issue. But yeah, Bengali's good changes. Berbers gain shipwright. Again, it's shipwright singular. Interesting. Berbers are still going to be kind of a slow water civ. You just don't have enough bonuses early on. The faster moving villagers and faster moving ships are nice, but they just don't really hold a candle to your best water civs, right? It's not Italians, it's not Vikings, it's not Japanese or Malay or Portuguese or anything like that. But in the late game, Berbers, I think they're the only civ with a 100% complete dock tech tree now, which is pretty cool. Because even a civ like Byzantines and Spanish, they don't get siege engineers, and those affect cannon galleons now. So, yeah, interesting stuff. I mean, yes, those civs basically get full dock tech trees, but yeah, I think Berbers just get that little bit of a distinction, which is cute. I don't think this is going to change their pick rate all that much on water maps, because water maps are usually about snowballing early advantages. So just having the fastest civs there is the most relevant, but it's still a nice change. Anything to give Berbers a little bit more of an identity than they currently have. Bulgarians, Konniks, train a little bit faster, 19 seconds to 16 seconds. I don't think this changes anything with Bulgarians, but I mean, getting Konniks out a little bit faster, fine. I think you kind of have to be careful with Konniks because they can be a sort of a one unit fits all. For Bulgarians, where like all you want to do in late game is just spam Konniks. So there still should be reasons to want to go for like Cavalier and other sorts of army compositions, but I don't think this is going to change a whole lot. I mean, I don't think it's a bad change. I just don't think it makes that much of a difference. They still need something. They still need a place in the game, right? Do you want to play them on aggressive maps? Do you want to play them on closed maps? No. Yeah, I mean, there are better civs in most situations. So Bulgarians are going to need to have something, I think, a little bit more fundamental. Dravidian's Woot Steel is now cheaper by 100 food and 50 gold. I don't really think this is necessary. The thing with Woot Steel is that it's a really good tech, but it's expensive to compensate for it. And Dravidians are still, like, for their swordsmen and halbs, like, Woot Steel is already really good. I think that Urumi are really the issue, right? They just aren't a very viable unit because they have no pierce armor. Their faster movement speed just doesn't make up for the fact that they die horribly to like anything ranged. Yes, they kill most stuff in melee mode, that they get into melee range with, so it's really difficult to balance that unit, but yeah, I think Urumi would be a bigger priority than Woot Steel. Huns is just an Empire Wars change. Who cares about Empire Wars, am I right? Malay, as I mentioned, the Battle Elephant discount has been reduced. It's a very slight nerf to the Civ, but it shouldn't matter too much for you. Mongols, like having Steppe Lancers, now only get 20% HP in Castle Age and 30% in Imperial Age, so they're staggering the bonus a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the Mongol Steppe Lancer play in early Castle Age was really oppressive, and is currently very oppressive. So I think I do like this change, even though the 30% for Lycav has always been a thing since Age of Kings, man. But yeah, I think it's a pretty necessary change. Their Steppe Lancer play is still going to be extremely good, but yeah, it's not going to be quite as overbearing. I mean, personally, I would have just put the Steppe Lancer HP increase behind a Castle Age unique tech and just make Nomads the Civ bonus or something, but this is another way of going about it. Lastly, we have Sicilians. Castles built 50% faster to fortifications built 50% faster. This includes castles, but now also includes walls and donjons. But donjons have had their build time adjusted, so basically donjons built 7 seconds faster. So a little bit of a buff there. And then you just build your walls faster, both palisade walls and stone walls. So help Sicilians defend in the early game. Kind of like Bulgarians, we need a time in which we want to play Sicilians, right? They just don't have much of an identity right now. They still have some weird bonuses and units. That said, the donjon aspect of the Civ is, I think, the most interesting one. So leaning into that a little bit more, you're building your fortifications all over the place with your hardy units. I like that makes sense as a Civ concept, so I don't hate this direction they're going, although I don't think it's going to change anything. And also the donjons are a bit cheaper on the wood cost. This also mirrors the discount that towers have gotten, so all of that is fine. Don't think this is going to change much for Sicilians, but we're moving in the right direction. But guys, that is going to be it for this balance update. Again, you can play this if you want to. Just log on to the PUP for April. We'll have to see when this goes into the game. I think most of these changes are good, or I don't really care that much about, so I'd call this patch a win for me. Definitely let me know what you guys think of this one in the comments, and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.